Good morning. Happy Friday, everyone. Welcome to another day of PT on Ice. My name is Jason London. I'm faculty with Institute for Clinical Excellence, teaching rehabilitation of the injured runner as well as rehabilitation of the injured cyclist. And today what I want to talk to you guys about was the importance of sleep. I know this has been covered many times and extensively with regard to chronic pain. But today I want to talk a little bit about how the importance of sleep for endurance athletes, and not just talking about performance, which has been covered before, but talking about injury. So there's a really cool study that's still in press that should be coming out here in the next month or two from the Journal of Science and Medicine and Sport. It's by Johnston et al. And the title is General Health Complaints and Sleep Associated with New Injury Within Endurance Sporting Population, a prospective study. So it's cool because it's a prospective study, so we can get some causation from this study. And it is looking at the importance of sleep within the endurance sporting population and its association with injury. So as you know, endurance athletes tend to get overuse injuries at a very high rate, especially runners, up to 75% annual incidence and 90% lifetime incidence. And so there's a lot of studies and research looking at, how are these injuries coming about? Of course, they're multifactorial, and how can we prevent those injuries from occurring in the first place? And so what this study did is they looked at not just runners, but they looked at runners, triathletes, swimmers, cyclers, and then rowers. And they went out to training groups or competitive groups in these disciplines in Ireland and recruited them. The only exclusion criteria was that they were over the age of 18 and under the age of 65. Otherwise, there was no other exclusion criteria. And then they had these athletes keep a training diary, including the number of days that they were training per each week, the volume that they were training, so both in the amount of time that was spent as well as the distance, and then the intensity as well. So they could calculate the acute to chronic workload ratio. And then in addition to that, they had them record subjective health symptoms, so things such as their mood, were they feeling depressed or down at all, cardiorespiratory issues, so were they having heart palpitations or any difficulty breathing during that training session or during the week, and gastrointestinal symptoms, so were they having diarrhea, etc. with training. And then they also had them track their sleep, and then lastly track any injuries. And the way they defined an injury was pain that was causing them to either miss a training day or modify their training day. So not typically a severe injury, and basically kind of capturing any training related pain that was causing the athlete to have to either modify their training or miss their training. And they followed them for quite a while, 52 weeks, so over a year. And what the results they found were pretty startling. So one, there was a pretty high incidence of injury. Again, most of these were probably pretty low injuries, just some pain that was causing them to miss a little bit of training. But on average for each athlete, there were 6 injuries per year. And then second was that the majority of the subjective health questions or feelings did not really correlate with developing that injury. So any GI issues that the athlete was having the week before or 2 weeks prior did not seem to correlate with or cause any running related injury or overuse injury. Same thing with cardiorespiratory, so any heart palpitations that they're having or maybe increased respiratory rate at rest did not seem to correlate with developing an injury. But what did was mood, and particularly with depression. So those athletes that were reporting that they were feeling depressed were more likely to sustain an injury the following week during their training. And this was a significant and I think clinically relevant risk, where it was at, let's check here. Excuse me. Is that a 30% increased risk. And then most surprising and most significant, though, was their finding of sleep and poor quality sleep. So poor quantity of sleep. And so those athletes that got on average less than 7 hours of sleep per day had a greatly increased risk of injury, and association of injury 2 weeks following. So there seemed to be a 14-day lag with poor quantity of sleep in the development of a overuse injury. So this is really important, a really important finding, and it also found that sleep, getting a good quantity of sleep, also seemed to be protective against injury. So this is something that, I think we definitely are hopefully covering now with our chronic pain population, but really points to that we should be covering with all of our patients. And, during that first visit, asking about sleep, both quantity, and then, of course, as we know from other studies and just experience, we should talk about quality of sleep too. So, are they sleeping through the night with only waking maybe once? Do they have a consistent bedtime and wake time? If they're having difficulty sleeping, making sure that they're avoiding screens for the hour or 2 hours prior to going to bed, and then of course avoiding stimulants such as nicotine or depressants such as alcohol prior to going to sleep as well. And again, this has been well studied in the chronic pain population, and showing that lack of sleep or poor quality of sleep does lead to a change in how our body perceives pain, and really can cause pain, as well as in an athletic population. It's been well studied with sleep deprivation studies and performance, that lack of sleep really does affect performance in a negative fashion. But this is really the first study to show that lack of sleep, again, this study was just looking at quantity of sleep, can lead to injury. This was a prospective study, and their main finding, again, was that those athletes that were getting less than 7 hours of sleep per night were more likely to sustain an injury, and there was a 2-week lag on this. So let's make sure that we're talking to our patients, including our athletes, about sleep and the importance of sleep, not just for performance, but for preventing injury and having those discussions early. So have a great Friday, everyone, and a great weekend. And I hope you guys are able to get outside and get some exercise, and then get some good sleep afterwards. See ya.
Hey, thanks for tuning in to the PT on Ice Daily Show. If you enjoyed this content, head on over to iTunes and leave us a review. And be sure to check us out on Facebook and Instagram at the Institute of Clinical Excellence. If you're interested in getting plugged into more ICE content on a weekly basis while earning CEUs from home, check out our virtual ICE online mentorship program at ptonice.com. While you're there, sign up for our Hump Day Hustling newsletter for a free email every Wednesday morning with our top 5 research articles and social media posts that we think are worth reading. Head over to ptonice.com and scroll to the bottom of the page to sign up.